So I wanted to bring in two people to kind of debate the state of play and see what our chances to go from right or left to get to the only direction that matters, which is forward. Progressive YouTube host Brian Tyler Cohen, former New Hampshire governor, Chris Sununu, both friends of show. Brian, good for you on talking to the people who matter in the moment. You talked to the AG, you talked to the governor. Here's a taste for people.
He knowingly went in a reckless way, did something that's almost without precedent in our lifetime. Unconstitutional, illegal, immoral. This is Trump's mess. He created it. He knew full well what would happen if he did this. He offered no support, no counsel, no advice, no other consideration. He just acted in an immature manner in order to create the kind of problems that people are now witnessing on the streets.
What's the plus side of that argument, do you believe, for the governor within the ranks of the Democratic Party?
Well, politically speaking, for Newsom, I mean, this gives him a platform from which he could, call out Donald Trump for the blatant scheme that he's running right now, which is, look, he's had a really bad month as it relates to the fallout with Elon Musk, as it relates to the precarious path forward for his budget bill, the fact that 14 million people are going to lose access to their health care. People are going to lose access to food assistance to the tune of $300 billion. This thing is going to blow up the deficit at the hands of these so-called deficit hawks. And so clearly, Donald Trump was looking for a distraction, as you laid out in the opening block of this show. And so that's what he's doing. And Newsom being able to very clearly call that out for what it is, and what he's willing to sacrifice, what Donald Trump is willing to sacrifice, I think is a good moment for him to at least politically speaking, to show that he is willing to meet this moment with the urgency that it deserves.
All right, so let's take that last phrase, Gov. Meet this moment with the urgency it deserves. I get what Brian's talking about, but that's not what we're living in Los Angeles. The moment is the governor and the mayor not having control of their own city. Trump wouldn't have had an opportunity to federalize the National Guard if they had been controlling the situation. And the issue behind it is one of the ones that hurt the Democrats the most. These people are essentially protesting enforcing the law.
That's absolutely right. And again, the governor had all the opportunity in the world to control the situation, didn't do it. Trump called him on Saturday, had a 15-minute phone call where he said, get a handle on this thing. And let's remember, this is Los Angeles and California. Have they ever handled a riot or disruption in the streets well? No. And Trump was there in 2020. We saw the cities burn. We saw billions of dollars of damage. We saw people across the country get killed. And Trump said, get a hold of it on Saturday. Nothing happened. So Trump said, okay, if you're not going to actually bring in the National Guard, I have the ability to do it. We're not going to let this thing get out of control. So Gavin has missed a huge opportunity here because he could have been part of the solution, chose to just be like, yeah, we have crisis in our streets, but it must be Trump's fault. And he's playing into this, to your earlier point, the political card of where he's just kind of doing that woke thing of, in the name of social justice, it's okay to not get control of the situation. It would be fine if we just let it play out. It's never fine if you let it play out. And so, I think there's other governors in the wings that probably want to run for president as well. Wes Moore and Josh Shapiro and Gretchen Whitmer going, boy, if this guy in California is the mouthpiece for the Democratic Party, he's driving us into a real problem. And they're going to probably capitalize that shortly after the midterms.
Brian, I see you shaking your head. Of course you come in.
Yeah.
That's why I want you on the show. But I will say this. Legally, I don't know about this move. And, there is a clip out there of Trump recognizing that you shouldn't be sending in the National Guard if a governor isn't asking unless they're very extreme circumstances. I see a political play in this for Trump, and it's a dicey one. But the issue, Brian, why aren't the Democrats doing what you do so well on your platform? Here's what I think that should happen with Medicaid. Here's what the problem is with the tax bill. Here's what the problem is with the tariffs, and this would have been better. That's not happening, and instead it's Trump is a despot. You really believe that gets you to a better place, or should they be more like you?
Well, it's not. You can walk and chew gum at the same time. We can both talk about, and we should talk about, the fact that Donald Trump is trying to strip healthcare away from 14 million Americans and strip food assistance away to the tune of $300 billion and explode the deficit at the hands of, again, these deficit hawks. But we also have to talk about the fact that he's blatantly attempting this government overreach, this big government overreach, again, at the hands of the purported small government party. But two things here that I want to respond to Governor Sununu. The first is that the LAPD itself, itself, which is by no means some liberal organization. This isn't some like crunchy tree-hugging organization here. They themselves have come out and said that they had this under control. And the second point that I wanted to make is...
Well, the chief said last night, Brian, that his guys were
overwhelmed.
Yeah.
They're overwhelmed.
So there are different narratives there. But keep going, Brian.
The second point is it wouldn't matter what was happening. Donald Trump was looking for any pretense to be able to do what he's doing because he needs to change the narrative. Do you really expect anybody to believe that even if there was minimal, like the smallest amount of protest possible, that Donald Trump still wouldn't be looking for a way, some thin pretense to be able to send in the National Guard? Already, there wasn't. Well, at least initially when they had spoken about this, the LAPD said that they had it under control. And so clearly this was engineered by Donald Trump to figure out a way to get us to stop talking about the Elon fallout, to get us to stop talking about this budget bill, and to figure out a way to talk about something that he views as more politically advantageous.
So let's wrap them both out. Gov, I'll give you the last word.
Trump watched these cities burn in 2020. He watched blue state governors do absolutely nothing. He watched everyone sit on their hands, and he said, we're not going to have it. And he's sending a message to Chicago, New York, and the rest of the country, hey, you all better get a hold of this, or we're going to step in, because he's not going to sit there and see a repeat of 2020 again. If California had some record of handling this well, that would be one thing. But Gavin Newsom is a complete disaster. Mayor Bass is a disaster on this stuff. They have no record of success in handling any of this very well. So I think it's the right thing to do, and he's sending a message to the rest of the country: get a hold of it before we come in and do it for you.
Look, it's a dicey proposition having the Marines on the ground. I love those men and women. I respect them. I don't like the position they're being put in right now. I hope nothing happens with this. My point is this. I got to jump. We should be fighting about what is in this budget bill and whether the tariffs are going to work and they're not, and what would be working better. You know what I mean? If you want to get into a fight about who's worse and we don't need to do it the way it's happening in Los Angeles right now, because we're ignoring a much better opportunity. Now, I'll tell you guys this. Brian Tyler Cohen is definitely having the right conversations on his platform. That's why I chase after him to get him on the show. And I appreciate you making the case here, brother. You're always welcome. And Governor, thank you for balancing it out with perspective from the other side. Thank you both. To be continued. Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.